What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And Dana White's bald head appeared on my screen when I rose my sleeping body from my bed at about 9 a.m. this morning, and so you guys get a video today. So shout out Dana White. I wasn't going to upload a video because I couldn't be bothered, but I'll react to these fight announcements because we have a bunch of breaking news, a bunch of crazy fights to discuss. Islam Makhachev is moving up, vacating his title. We kind of knew this was going to happen, but we didn't know if he was going to vacate or not because he seems to think that he was going to hold on to the belt. But shout out to the UFC at least for keeping consistency and sticking with their fuck off, you're not doing simultaneous double champ, because it just delays shit. Because like what do you like main eventing, and yeah, it's the same fight, but like an interim title main eventing international fight week is kind of weird. So shout out for them keeping the same energy. Ilia had to vacate his, Islam had to vacate his. You don't get to go up with the belt, find out if you win or lose, and then vacate afterwards. No. You got to take the risk if you're going to get the reward. So I respect that immensely. But the fights that we have to discuss, we got the main and co-main and basically the rest of the card. For UFC 317, we also have a bunch of fights for the Abu Dhabi Fight Night card. RDR versus Whittaker, Sharon Magomedov's fighting, Krylov versus Guskov. We got a bunch of shit to discuss, as well as UFC 319, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev taking place in August. So those guys getting a nice long camp for that one. But yeah, we're going to start off with the main event for UFC 317. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. So yeah, let's get started. First up, we got the main event for UFC 317, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Look, now there's going to be the people going around complaining that these aren't the two most deserving guys, or that Charles doesn't deserve it, or Arman deserves it more. And those people would probably be correct. But the UFC was explicit when saying, or Dana White was like, yeah, Arman's not getting a fucking title shot. You need to fight again. You can't pull out of a world title fight the day before and completely fuck up the pay-per-view and then expect to just be like, oh, no worries, Arman, we'll just rebook you on your time, whenever suits for you. Like, that's not going to happen. So, Gaethje doesn't deserve it, and also, it just, like, Ilia versus Charles is just a more hype fight than, like, Arman versus Charles 2, or, like, Ilia versus Arman's cool, but, like, main event of, like, what's supposed to be the biggest card of the year, they want the name value, I understand. I talked about this a little bit in my, other video after UFC 317, or not 3, after UFC 315, where I discussed JDM versus Islam and Ilia versus Charles. I'm really worried for Charles. I think he's going to get KO'd here. I hope not. The thing is, though, like, this is what I want to do, because if I picked Charles and he got KO'd, I get my pick wrong, and I'm sad. If I pick Ilia, I'm like, okay, I can cope and be like, well, I was right, but I wanted Charles to KO him. And if I get my pick wrong and Charles wins, I'm happy, and I don't care that I got my pick wrong. So, I want to get my pick wrong here, but I just think Charles' defense is too bad. I don't think his head movement's good enough. He looked okay, but even, like, Arman was, like, tagging him up on the feet. Islam was hitting him a lot on the feet. He gets hit so much in fights. And a guy like Ilia, who is probably the most powerful guy that is hitting him pound for pound. Like, maybe Poirier hits harder, but, like, we don't see Poirier just laying dudes out with, like, one shot much. We saw him do it to BSD, but, like, that was kind of like a combination. He dropped him first. Like, Ilia's just deading guys with one punch. Now, maybe that power doesn't translate as well to lightweight, but we saw him just sleep Jai Herbert in his only fight that he's had a lightweight a few years ago. So, I don't think the power's going to be an issue. I think the power's going to translate, and unless Oliveira is, like, knows he cannot stand with Ilia and just takes a pure grappling approach and just tries to, like, bully him around with the size, and it's just too big for him, I just cannot see this going well for Charles, just because, like, Ilia has pretty good grappling. He's been taken down, so if Charles' grappling offensively is good, which I think it is, he could potentially out-wrestle Ilia and take him down and maybe sub him. That would be great, because there's going to be a massive size difference here. Oliveira's going to look a lot bigger than Ilia, I have no doubt about that. But I just think Ilia's pocket boxing is just too good. I think he's too good at finding the chin, and Oliveira's not good enough at defending the chin. So I think all factors culminate towards Ilia Topuria getting a KO win and winning a second belt. Now, it would be kind of crazy, because, like, is it that easy? Can my man just go up and just win 2 titles and just speed run GOAT status? Maybe. You know, maybe Oliveira wins it back. I hope Oliveira wins it back, but as of right now, I'm going to go with Ilia unless I drastically change my mind, which I don't think I'm going to. I'm starting to just stick with my initial leans for these fights and not try and like go like, oh, but if Oliveira wrestles, yeah, it's like but if he wrestles, it's like if he just fights like normal, he's going to get KO'd in my opinion. So the early lean is Ilia Topuria by KO. Anyway, let's move on to the next fight. My boy Alejandro Pantoja is going to be getting a 4th title defense against this midget Kai Kara France. Maybe he gets KO'd and that would be devastating, but I believe in Pantoja. I believe in my GOAT, my flyweight GOAT. He's going to go in there. He's going to out-grapple Kai Kara France, is going to take him down, and he's even going to have a lot more success on the feet than people are going to be suspecting. I think Pantoja's just improving too much. I think some of these champions, when they become champ, they just get so much better, and they just keep evolving, and they're just hungry to keep the belt. I think Pantoja's not a guy whose only goal was to reach the belt. He reached that belt, and he's like, alright, this is cool. Now let me hold on to this shit. Let me actually change my life. Let me build a legacy. And I think that's what he's doing. Kai Kara France, I just can't see him as a guy who wins an undisputed title. We saw him in that interim fight with Moreno. He just comes up short in the big spots. And I maintain, even though it was a robbery, you cannot be having a close fight with Amir Albazi, given who we've just seen him look so shit against Brandon Moreno. I don't think Amir Albazi is good at all. And he had your back. Amir Albazi almost choked you out. Like, he almost choked you out. And if the fight is close enough to where you can even give it to Albazi, I just think Pantoja is going to be way too good. Yeah, Kai Kara France could KO him, but like, did he KO Albazi? No. Did he KO, like, Royval? No. Like, has he KO'd most of his opponents that are, like, actually good strikers, like, pretty good strikers and tough? No. He KO'd Cody Garbrandt, and he kind of flash KO'd Steve Erceg, which with a good shot. But Erceg's a guy who can be cracked, you know. That was a good, though. He did KO Erceg. He has the power, but we just aren't seeing, like, Pantoja, the closest he's been to being KO'd was by fucking Davison Figueiredo. I don't think, and he got dropped. He didn't even get, like, put away by TKO in that fight. Like, I do not think Kai Kara France's power is that crazy to where he's going to KO Pantoja. Now, unless he just goes out there and says, fuck it, I'm either winning this shit by, like, round 1 KO, or I'm just going to lose, and just goes balls to the wall and just, like, goes for broken round 1 and tries to KO him and just swings power shots, maybe. But, like, Pantoja's eating shit. Like, he's just eating flying knees from Kaya Sakura. He's just, I don't know if he just gets KO'd. And we aren't seeing him slow down. This isn't like, oh, but he's 35 now, he's starting to slow down. Where, like, with Volk, we could see a slight decline. Like, he's looking better and better every fight. He looked phenomenal in the Kai Sakura fight. He was outstriking Kai Sakura, who's the guy who's been competitive with Manel Kape in Ryzen. Manel Kape's a great fighter. Manel Kape's a great striker. Manel Kape's someone I think would outstrike Kai Kara France. So I just think Pantoja's too good. I think the grappling's too good. I think the striking is on par, where he's not just going to get blown out of the water on the feet. I think Moreno's a tougher fight for him. I think Kape's a tougher fight for Pantoja. I just think Kai, apart from a KO chance here, I do not see him winning this fight if it goes to the decision. Unless he is able to just stuff every single fucking takedown and just keep it on the feet. But even then, I like late rounds, Pantoja, I feel like he's actually pretty good. Like, he's able to he's just gritty, and he's able to just, like, find ways to win rounds. Like, against Moreno, he was, like, looked fucking dead. And that was like a shit version of Pantoja in my opinion. That was Pantoja fighting like almost at his worst, just brawling, expended like all his energy in round 1. I don't think he does that. I think we're starting to see Pantoja be able to pace himself more, win these difficult fights where he actually faces adversity. So I got Pantoja by either sub, because like his wrestling's good too. It's not like he's just a jiu-jitsu guy with no ability to get to the fight to the ground. Like, we saw him just go after Asakura, just chuck him around and jump on his back and sub him. Like, I just think Kai, he'll give up his back at some point. Askarov had his back, I believe. Albazi had his back. I just think Pantoja's going to get him out of there, or just win a dominant decision. Anyway, let's move on to the rest of the card. So, the rest of the card, it's kind of underwhelming. Dana White did say that he had some more fights coming, and I'm going to just pull up Sherdog now, because I want to just check how many more spots we have on this card, because this main card right now, with what they have, it's good, and the main and co-main save it, but I would not call it like an international fight week quality card. Like, when Kopylov Costa was announced like a month ago, I'm like, that's a prelim fight. That should be on the prelims. It's not going to be, because Costa has a name. They're going to keep him on main cards. But I was hoping this card was going to be stacked to the point where Costa Kopilov's on the prelims. I was like, alright, Cap Royval's a good main card fight. We'll get main and co-main, Pantoja co-main, Ilia main event. Alright, that'll be good. And then I was like, alright, we need some more big fights. Like, I'm okay with Moicano Dariush. That's a main card worthy fight in my opinion. But let's check. How many spots do we have on this card? Because why the fuck is Justin Tafa, Blob Tafa, coming off a round 1 KO loss, fighting what's the kid's name? Janata Janice, who's coming off a fucking fraud check loss to March in Tubbyman Tybora. Why is that on the fucking main card of this event? As far as my predictions go, I'm picking what's the kid's name? Roman Kopylov. My fucking Sherdog's just freezing right now. That's not what I want to get off my screen. My internet is fucking dog shit. But anyway, I'm picking Kopylov to school Paulo Costa. I think he's just a way better fucking striker. Like levels better at striking in my opinion. He's just going to tune him up on the feet. Maybe get a TKO, but I just don't see Costa winning that. Benil Dariush, Renato Moicano. Okay, so how many fights are there? There's 9 fights on this card, so we got way more room. We got room for like another 3 main card fights. And from what Dana said, I'm going to pull up the fucking video right now if I can find the audio for you. I'll just play the audio. A bit of it at least. What's the kid's name? Where's Dana White at? Where's Dana White at? Alright, let me find this shit. Sorry, boys. This is on the fly right now. Mac Life. Where's the Mac Life? He posted it. The Mac Life. Dana White. Hang on, where is it? Bro, I can't find anything, bro. Anyway, I think if you look at the video, Dana White said, like, and we've got some more fights coming soon. So, right now, I'm picking Kopylov to whoop up Costa. I'll pick Moicano, close decision against Dariush. I actually think that fight's going to be more competitive than I originally thought when it was for 311. We'll see what happens there, though. Janice versus Tafa, why is this on the main card? But I'll pick Janice. I just hate the Tafa brothers, so I'm going to pick against them every fight. Royval Cap, like, that's a main card fight. Like, if the main card was Ilia versus Oliveira, Pantoja versus Kaikara France, Dariush Moicano, like, second fight on the main card opener, Cap Royval, featured prelim Costa Kopylov, and we had another big fight, like a Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya in the feature fight. That's what I'm thinking. And a Mavov Baralio in the feature fight. Something like that. One more massive fight on the card. But I'll be picking, Janice to beat Tafa. And then Royval Cap, which I think is a great fight. But they never put flyweight, like, non-title fights on main cards, it feels like. I'm going to pick Manel Cap. If he shows up well, he should win. And the fact that it's 3 rounds favours him as well, in my opinion. There was more of a chance for Royval when it was booked for the main event, to me. But also, we got Hermansson versus Robocop. I'll pick Robocop. This does feel like a typical Hermansson, just shows back up and fraud checks a guy and just leaves for another year. But I'm going to say Robocop's got the power to get him out of there, and I don't think Hermansson's got the durability of a Jared Cannonier, I feel like. Or like something like the firepower back to be able to steal those rounds. Because it was like... And he's 36. He's been finished before. His wins are like Piper over 5. Again, it's a 5-rounder. I could be picking a Hermansson crafty vet decision, but I just don't love this for him. 3 rounds, so I'll pick Robocop to get back in the win column probably. You just can't be fighting once every 15 months. And then we got Arujo Cortez. I'll take Cortez. And then we got Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. I guess I'll pick Daniel Zellhuber there. Anyway, let's move on to the next fights. Next up, we got some Abu Dhabi fights. The main event, though, Robert Whittaker versus Rainier Derrida. I have to just be logical and pick Whittaker because, like, surely. But at this point, the plot armor does just seem too legit. So I might go with Derrida just for the fuck of it. But, logic, I say Derrida. Logic, I say Whittaker. Vibes, kind of Derrida. We'll see what happens when we get closer to fight week. I want to see the size difference as well. Because Whittaker, we know, is kind of capable of being mogged and just physically overpowered and subbed early. So maybe Whittaker gets him out of there. And these old guard of middleweights are just cooked. Like, we saw it with Izzy. We see it with Whittaker against Khamzat. Maybe we see it again with Derrida. And these guys are just all getting forced out the rankings. But I'll pick Whittaker. This fight's not too new, but I included it because I didn't talk about it in any other video. So, yeah, Whittaker, he's a way better striker. He has defensive wrestling. He should win, but it's RDR. So with that being said, RDR is gonna fucking land a falling piano on his head. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens closer to the fight. Though. Anyway, let's move on to the other fights on that card. This Abu Dhabi card, I feel like is gonna be like a fucking generational card because we got Guskov versus Krylov, we got Shara versus Beryu, and we got Temerov versus Elmabayev. And Dana White said there's more. I'm pretty sure we're getting like a PDR and co-main event. Maybe. Potentially. No source to that. And I think we might be getting Amir Albazi versus Tatsuro Taira on that card too. So if we end up with a main card of Robert Whittaker versus Rainier Derrida, Peter Yan versus Marcus McGee, because that just for some reason is what they're potentially doing, Albazi versus Taira, Krylov versus Guskov, Temerov Elmabayev, and then a main card opener of Shara versus Beryu. That's a 6-fight. They usually do 6-fight cards for the fight nights. That is a generational fucking main card if we get that. Now, even without the Yarn and Marcus McGee, like still, Whittaker RDR, Taira Albazi, Temerov Elmabayev, Guskov, Krylov, Shara Beryu, and like one other fight, like a Said Nurmagomedov or like a Renat or something like that. We could be looking at a fucking generational card, and you know they love stacking these Middle Eastern fight nights, because the Middle East actually has no good fighters themselves, but we just have a bunch of Russians or Kazakhs or anyone from like any other region than the Middle East who can speak, who's Muslim, I guess, and so they represent the entire region. But I loved saying that every video. Everyone's like, bro, left lane hates Muslims, dude. I'm like, nah, bro. I just point out the fact that the Middle East has no talent. I mean, Amir Albazi is ethnically like Iraqi or something like that. So I mean, that's the closest they got. Other than that, you know, Muhammad Yahya is the only UAE fighter in the UFC, and kid's 0-2. So it's rough scenes for Abu Dhabi MMA. But predictions, I'll predict that Shara beats Beryu because Beryu is shit. He KO'd Bruno Silva. That's the most washed Bruno Silva's ever been washed. So Shara should win. The fact that he did keep it in there with MVP, like he lost clearly, but like decision, he didn't get just blown out the water. So I think Shara is still half decent. I'll pick Guskov to beat Krylov just because I got to stick with my boy. Guskov's one of my boys, and I just got to stick with goofiness. I feel like it's just you got to just ignore logic in the sport and just pick goofy, dumb outcomes. And that's what Derrida's entire success is. So I'm picking Guskov to just be retarded and just win because Krylov, can I rely on him to shoot a takedown? No. Maybe after that KO loss, he's like, fuck this. I'm just wrestling. Maybe. But I'll say Guskov fucking flying knees him in the face. Anyway, and then Temerov Elmabayev. Yeah, sorry, listen, kid. Asshole Elmabayev. I know you got fucking eye-poke TKO'd in your last fight, but we're going to do you a solid, kid. Here's Ramazan Temerov. Good luck. Good fucking luck. You're on your own. Anyway, Temerov's gonna fucking KO Elmabayev. Anyway, let's move on to the final fight to discuss. Next up, Dricus du Plessis, Khamzat, Chimaev. This is the fight that we all wanted to see. This is the fight that was gonna always happen. It's not breaking news. I'm picking Dricus though. I'm gonna spend too long on it because I need to go to work soon and I gotta upload this video now. But I'm picking Dricus du Plessis via late finish. I just don't think Khamzat gets him out of there in the first round. If he does, that's incredibly impressive. But if he doesn't, I just don't see him winning if the fight goes past round 1. So if I'm picking a guy to either win by round 1 finish against the guy who really isn't getting finished, like if this was like fucking some, I don't know, like who's a guy with like no chin? Like if this was Khamzat Chimaev versus like fucking Johnny Walker or some shit, and I'm just like, oh, either Khamzat wins. Obviously it's a bad example, but like either Khamzat wins in round 1 where the guy's really chinnable and it could happen, or he's not going to win. Like, no, Dricus is a durable guy. He's a physical dude. He's a guy who doesn't just get ragdolled much. And he's a guy who actually is proven to have a gas tank. Now, maybe Khamzat's gas tank's not as bad as we thought, but he just looked so ineffective in round 2 and 3 against, like, Burns and Usman. So I'm going to just trust Dricus to, like, fight for longer and be able to hold up a pace and just put aggression on Khamzat and not respect him as much. So I'll pick Dricus du Plessis because I just think he's the most physical dude that Khamzat's ever fought, and I don't see Khamzat just ragdolling him. Anyway, that'll do it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. What do you think of the fights? Who are your early predictions? Hopefully 317 can get a bit more stacked. I'm telling you, like an Izzy Strickland or a Kaio Amalov on that card would definitely take just one fight. And then you can chuck a bunch of prelim bums on there. Not bums, but like prospects. Get like Belay. I was hoping Rufy would get on there. Maybe Rufy is still on that card, hopefully. But get Vallejo. This is what I'm saying. 4 more fights. Is this too much to ask? Probably. Either Izzy versus Strickland or a Mavrobrello. You only need one of them. And then you get Rufy to open up the main card, or just on the prelims, Rufy versus anyone really, anyone ranked hopefully. And then you can get Atiba Gautier versus Robert Valentin. That's a fight that is probably going to happen in my opinion. Not from any source or anything, I'm just taking a guess. And then you can get Kevin Vallejos on the prelims. That's a 14 fight card, that's stacked, that's what you need. Anyway, goodbye.